Sports night tonight from the Wembley Conference Centre, another world title occasion as Ulsterman Dave McAuley gets set for the first defence of his IBF World Flyweight title against the former champion Dodie Penalosa of the Philippines. We're live at the ringside along with a very expectant crowd and as ever some notable figures from the sport. Frank Bruno among them, once again an involved spectator. Tough defence. The ring behind us of Dave McAuley, the world champion, but not one of the most familiar personalities in the sport. Boxing hasn't made him a fortune yet. He's never lost touch with his trade as a chef. But he's produced some truly outstanding performances, notably against Fidel Bassa in '87. Bassa just hanging on to his world title. In 1988, the hard-working McAuley, he got another shot at Bassa, the result, another brave defeat. Then earlier this year at Wembley, McAuley got a crack at Duke Mackenzie's IBF World Flyweight title. He started as underdog, but finished as champion. And it's that title that's on the line for the first time tonight. McAuley from Lan against Penalosa from the Philippines. The challenger is in the ring, and here comes McAuley. McAuley on his way will join Harry Carpenter.
And McAuley comes in behind the belt that he won by beating Duke Mackenzie, the IBF World Flyweight Championship belt. Into the Grand Hall Wembley ring, where Penalosa is waiting for him. First defence, as Steve said, of this IBF Flyweight Championship title, the 8-stone division. And a tough opponent.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mickey Duff and Terry Lawless Promotions are proud to present World Championship Boxing in the principal contest of the evening. The contest of 12 rounds, 3 minutes each round, for the International Boxing Federation Flyweight Championship of the World. Between and introducing to you in the red corner, the challenger from the Philippines, Dodie Penalosa. And in the blue corner, the champion from Belfast, Dave McAuley. The weigh-in at 1 o'clock today, Dave McAuley scaled 8 stone, Dodie Penalosa 7 stone 13 and a half. The referee for the contest is Mr. Denny Nelson of the United States of America. The judges, Mr. Torben Hansen from Denmark, David Paris from England, and Pascual Ingusal from the Philippines, and the timekeeper from Hatch End, Peter McCann. Thank you.
Well, this man, Penalosa, is the former holder of this championship they're fighting for tonight, the IBF Flyweight title, and also, before that, held the IBF Light Flyweight title. So here's an opponent who's been world champion at 2 weights, so that must say plenty for his ability. He'll box southpaw, right fist and foot foremost. He's the son of a professional fighter. He's got 2 brothers who fight, and I rather suspect here's a tough little Filipino who might well give McAuley plenty of trouble. McAuley looking quite impassive. There's been some stories going around that he doesn't feel motivated for this fight because he's not getting what he thinks is the right sort of money. All a bit unpleasant. Well, I hope he's motivated, because I think he better be, because I don't think this is going to be an easy one. Denny Nelson, American referee. And all set to go for a scheduled 12 rounds for the IBF Flyweight Championship of the World.
Seconds out, first round.
McAuley wearing the blue trunks against this southpaw Filipino, Dodie Penalosa, who is considerably shorter than McAuley. McAuley is a tall boy, 5'7.5". And we shall find Penalosa to be not all that mobile. Now here's a man who suffered polio as a very young child. In fact, he couldn't walk properly till he was 3 years old. He still limps a little. It's the left leg that is the weak leg, and that's forced him to be a southpaw, because the right leg in the southpaw stance carries most of the weight. McAuley is a hard puncher, no question of that. You saw in the start of the program how he put Fidel Bassa down in one of their world title fights. He came very, very close to winning that. And Fidel Bassa is one of the best champions around. Good combination. Beautiful left hook into the body and the following right to the head. Penalosa smiles a little nervously. McAuley, of course, comes out of the old Barry McGuigan camp, the BJ Eastwood camp. Same manager, same trainer as McGuigan had when he was world featherweight champion. And McAuley producing one or two good punches out of this long, long reach. Penalosa so far hasn't risked coming forward. These 1-2 combinations of McAuley's looking quite ominous. Blood above the left eye of McAuley. I don't think he's cut, but there's a slight smear of blood there. And Barney Eastwood is having a bit of a look at that too. And he is cut. He is cut above the left eye. Now, how did that happen? That must have... I don't remember a punch landing there. Maybe they had a crack of heads. They didn't get together that often, but that is disastrous for McAuley at this stage of the game. A 12-round fight, and the last thing in the world you want is a cut at the end of the first 3 minutes, but that's what he's got. So that is not good news for the reigning champion in his first defence. 28-year-old Dave McAuley from Larne in County Antrim. 10-second buzzer. Seconds must leave the ring. So McAuley in the blue trunks, this tall man from Northern Ireland, moves into the second round, knowing that he's already cut above the left eye. And the right eye, now you notice, is very heavily greased indeed. To try to prevent something similar happening there. And already there's a smear of blood above the left eye of McAuley. They haven't managed to staunch the flow. And suddenly Penalosa moves forward, encouraged. Penalosa was the first ever holder of the IBF light flyweight title. That's roughly 7.5 stone. He held it for 3 years, from 1983 to 1986. The Philippines have a good history in boxing. They've produced a lot of good world champions over the years. atmosphere here now. Very tense, where this crowd can see the blood on McAuley's face. And the little brown man smiles again. He took those 3 punches well. But so far, not proving to be too aggressive. He ran out of steam in one of his world title fights. And was beaten in the 11th round. And maybe that's on his mind, and he's pacing himself carefully here. That cut above the eye of McAuley is not serious yet. Penalosa for the first time just beginning to show some aggression. Well, of course, McAuley is the former British flyweight champion. He was a former Irish amateur champion in 1980. He's been a pro since 1983. And those 2 defeats both came at the hands of Fidel Bassa in world title fights. But he is a bit vulnerable to a hard puncher. He's been down 8 times in all in his professional career. And that fight he had with Duke McKenzie earlier this year was his first for 15 months. Remarkable win. And Penalosa looking a little more confident now.
Seconds out. Round 3.
Penalosa will be 27 on November the 19th. He won this particular title in 1987, but he held it for only 6 months. He won it from Hee-Sop Shin of South Korea with a knockout, and then lost it in his first defense against another Korean, Chang Ho Choi, on a knockout in the 11th round. That was the fight in which he ran out of steam after seeming to have it won. So far, McAuley has not, or rather Penalosa has not quite got to grips with the extra reach that McAuley has, and he hasn't made many forward moves, and he's playing it very cautiously indeed. McAuley is not a bad puncher, and I wouldn't have thought Penalosa would want to stand around too long getting caught, but he's still not really coming forward. One slightly low there from Penalosa. The referee tells him about it. McAuley turned into a right hand. That was a good punch from Penalosa. For the first time, he's really opened up. And suddenly, McAuley looks quite white-faced. He took one in the kidney region. He turned into it. And then he took a very hard punch to the head. And suddenly, one side of McAuley's face is red where he was cut. And the other side is deathly white. Very strange. And I think that punch has had a profound effect on McAuley. He's looking at his glove. And a little more blood now comes down the face of McAuley. The cut is worse. And they haven't heard the bell. And suddenly, a fight which started very quietly has exploded into action. And Barney Eastwood is calling the referee over to look again. And I think he's complaining to the referee that that has not been done with a punch. So, some consternation in the McAuley corner. Well, we know, you know that Terry Lawless is with Steve Ryder here tonight. I'm just wondering what you make of it so far, Terry.
I think I'm as confused as you are, Harry. The fight's not developed any direct pattern just yet. I think they're both a bit wary of one another. Penalosa looks like he's got plenty of ability, but he's not shown too much so far. That certainly looked a good punch in that round, and that looks as if that cut could be troublesome.
Round 4. So the little Filipino in that third round suddenly proved to one and all that he can be very, very dangerous. That was a good right hand from McAuley. They're really testing each other with these punches. And this, at the moment, looks like a fight that might not go all the way. McAuley's still looking very white-faced. Penalosa still quite reluctant to open up. And the right hand of McAuley reaping dividends here in this fourth round. Measuring his man with it, almost telegraphing it, in fact. And the little southpaw from the Philippines still hasn't quite worked out what to do. They very nearly found the answer in the previous round. And this long reach of the Ulsterman is proving to be a very useful weapon for him here, and Penalosa hasn't solved the problem. That was a good round for McAuley. And this little man, although he did look very dangerous for just one brief moment in the third, has got a lot of things to solve here. Dodie Penalosa, son of a pro fighter. He'll be 27 in just a few days' time. And his two defeats, strangely enough, like McAuley's, both occurred in World Championship fights. His first challenge for a flyweight title was the WBA title in '86 in Manila. and he challenged Hilario Zapata of Panama for the title and lost on points over 15 rounds. He was cut in 2 places on that occasion, under the left eye and under the right eye.
Seconds out. Round 5.
Penalosa in the white trunks, the shorter of these 2 men, the southpaw, trying to take this IBF 8-stone title off the man from County Antrim. McAuley, the first Irishman since Rinty Monaghan to win a world flyweight title. There are, of course, 3 of them now, WBA, WBC, and this one, the IBF. And McAuley has always said that he can't really feel himself to be the world title holder until he wins one or hopefully both of the other 2 championships. That's how it is in boxing today. Multiple champions at all weights. It's a strange thing that Penalosa's not really opened up. Having had that brief success in the 3rd, you'd have expected him to do a bit more, but he hasn't. And he's allowing McAuley always to take the initiative against him. And as long as McAuley keeps leading off and getting the first blow in, he's going to do well. He pulled him down. Penalosa smiles again. McAuley having no further trouble with that cut. They've staunched the bleeding. It's a good right hand. And he's got him over. That was well, no, the referee saying no punch. It looked like a punch to me. But that's not been counted as a knockdown by the referee. But it didn't look too bad to me. I thought it was a left hand. We'll have a look at it again in a moment. See what we can make of it. But it looked, for all the world at the time, to me, as though he actually put the man down. Here we go. Let's look at it again. Well, I don't know. No, maybe not. Maybe not. We've got another angle on it. Let's have another look. Well, he threw a punch sort of round the back of the neck. What do you think of that, Terry?
Mixture of 2, a swing, half a punch. But I thought the punch before was quite a good one. It looks like they're doing a good job on the eye there. And I think McAuley's getting his nose in front because Penalosa doesn't seem to be interested in doing too much work.
No, he's very strangely cautious, isn't
Very
he?
cautious.
Well, here we are now, rapidly approaching the halfway stage, and if Penalosa is going to win this fight, he's got to start showing something pretty soon. these left-right combinations from McAuley, really. They're telling all the time, and Penalosa stands for them again and again. He comes straight on, even though he's getting caught coming in. McAuley noticeably never getting engaged in long battles inside. He doesn't want any of that. It's all being done from long range. And being done pretty well at the moment. Another good right hand from McAuley. Remember that Penalosa is not all that mobile because of that weakness that polio left him with as a child. And that could have been part of the reason for going down in that last round. I don't think he goes back too well. Well, there's no doubt if the pattern of the fight continues like this, then McAuley's going to win it, unless the eye gets any worse. Break off at the exact moment of the bell. Dodie Penalosa. Well, since losing his IBF Flyweight title to Choi of South Korea in 1987, he's won all his fights since, and this year he's stopped 3 opponents. The first man, of course, from the Philippines to win the World Flyweight title was the famous Pancho Villa, who took the title from Jimmy Wilde in New York in 1923, Wilde's last fight. Villa was still the world champion in 1925 and then died of blood poisoning in San Francisco. So we enter the second half of this world championship. The 8-stone title at stake here, held by McAuley in the blue trunks, the man from Larne in County Antrim. Larne, about 20 miles or so north of Belfast.
Break.
Penalosa's right eye looking just a little swollen. Well, Penalosa's got to put McAuley under some sort of pressure fairly soon, or else. McAuley must be quite a long way ahead now. Short little sharp left hand from Penalosa. His spells of aggression are few and far between, but they look quite dangerous when they come, and he punches fast. McCauley's face looking a little worse for wear again. He's got some blood on his nose. And hurt by right hand. And that's a slip. That's that weak leg again of Penalosa. And that left eye of McAuley looking a little worse. And also now cut on the nose as well, on the bridge of the nose. And it's looking more and more as though McAuley's greatest danger here is going to come from facial damage. And really he doesn't want to get too involved in a war now. He wants to keep it at long range if he can. And McAuley goes back, looking a little worse this time, with the cut on the left eye has worsened slightly. In fact, there may be two cuts there. And the additional cut now on the nose. I think, Terry, I said in that last round that facial damage could be his undoing here. It's looking that way, isn't it?
Yeah, that one underneath the eye looks a little sore. The one above looks no trouble. I can't see the nose because it's covered.
He might even have three cuts.
He's got the nose
on the eye. Well, three on the eye, I think.
I can't see the other one.
There's one very slight one above the eyebrow.
I'm a little disappointed with Penalosa. He looks to have a lot more artillery than he's actually throwing, and he obviously has terrible trouble with that back leg.
Yeah. Well, it's imperative now for the champion, McAuley, to keep this at long range. He must at all costs now try to keep that face from any further damage. Penalosa's done so little work in the first 7 rounds that you can't help feeling he's going to be very strong at the finish. And this is the last sort of thing he wants to get involved in, McAuley. It's Penalosa's job now to force him into that sort of thing. And I just get the feeling now that the battle might, for the first time, be beginning to swing the Filipinos' way. Left-right combination yet again from McAuley. That's been his most successful pairing all the way through. Again a good right. Well, maybe he sensed himself that things were beginning to go the other way, and he's stepped it up a bit, but he's leaving himself open. And although he's getting through, he's not getting off scot-free. A lot of blood on the face of McAuley again. downstairs. He's cautioned, actually, about one punch. One of the hardest rounds we've seen so far, and McAuley goes back again, looking as though he might even have one more cut under the right eye now. His face is dissolving into a mass of cuts. One under the right eye. There are certainly at least two around the left eye. There's one on the nose. So he really does have problems. And we have another 4 rounds still to go. But at the same time, he's punishing the little Filipino. So this could have a very, very interesting conclusion. These last 4 rounds may be very exciting. They're having their work cut out to stop the bleeding on the face of McAuley. This little man at one time looked as though he was getting a swelling on the right eye, but it's not developed.
Seconds out. Round 9.
Grease daubed all over the eyes of McAuley as he comes out for the 9th. Still well ahead, McAuley. This is Penalosa's 5th fight outside the Philippines. And the previous 4, he won all inside the distance. McAuley really does get involved in some hard fights. Those two with Bassa, particularly the first one, was extraordinary. And early on in his career, he had 1 or 2 really tough battles. He's usually come out on top, but he never seems to have a really easy fight, except the one with Mackenzie. Champion still in control. Penalosa told to keep the punch up. He's a strong man, Penalosa. He's taken some good punches. McAuley is no mean hitter. Again, good left, right. McAuley well on top. And they have a long, hard stare at each other as they make their respective ways to their corners. Not quite as bad, the cuts this time. Almost no blood on the face at all. We can have another look at that final left-right combination in that round. 1 to the body, 1 to the head. He's repeated that pattern over and over in this fight. It's been his most successful ploy. I don't know, Terry, what is Penalosa going to do? He doesn't seem capable of opening up.
I think McAuley's boxing a very smart fight. He's certainly learned from the hard fights he's had before. But I can't really see Penalosa as a double world champion, what I've seen tonight. He doesn't look like a guy who's won 2 titles.
Right. I just wonder whether he might be having trouble making the weight. It looks like that sort of trouble. Lethargic. However, there are still 3 rounds to go. You can't help feeling that Penalosa's got to come up with something in a minute. He's really got to let go and go all out, because he's heading for certain defeat otherwise. And it's got to the point now where he's got to stop McAuley to win. But these are rare successes. That's a good reply from Penalosa. He's still dangerous. But when you think back and remember how McAuley put Basser down several times in that first fight of theirs with similar punches, you wonder how Penalosa has stood up to it. Don't think McAuley wants to take any chances at all now. It's late in the fight. We're in the 10th. He's well ahead. Best now to protect the lead. Two of them have opened up together. It's nearly always been McAuley who's come out on top. And you can see the limp as Penalosa goes back to his corner. He's a tired man. 2 rounds to go. Hasn't really shown very much yet. And, well, he came here with the reputation of a man who'd been world champion at 2 weights. But you just wonder whether the best is not behind him, because he hasn't produced too much tonight. One of the judges, and Penalosa in the background. And the Eastwood contingent still working diligently on their man's face and hoping above hope now that he can keep out of further trouble with 6 minutes of action left. McAuley must surely now try to keep it at long range all the time. signs from McAuley's corner, telling him to keep the left hand going. Eddie Shaw, the trainer of McAuley, hammering the canvas, trying to get the attention of his fighter, telling him to keep sticking that left arm. Penalosa's mouth is hurt. The lower lip is injured. Penalosa had no real success there, and he goes back to the corner with the lower lip split. Now the first real sign of damage on his face. Well, I assume, Terry, you'd agree with me that McAuley is a fair way ahead.
I would say that's being very kind. I really can't understand Penalosa. For a guy that's won 2 world titles, he just seems to be satisfied to stay in the rounds. He's certainly not gone fixed bayonets and gone charging at. You know, I would have thought he'd give a do-or-die effort. Hope he doesn't this round, of course.
It's all that's left now, isn't it?
That's all, that's all.
Yeah. So, we come to the final 3 minutes of this IBF World Flyweight Championship. This is the man defending the title, making his first defense. Several cuts, but none of them, fortunately for him, have proved to be too serious.
12th and last round.
3 minutes left. 3 minutes left for McAuley to make his first successful defense of this title. 3 minutes left for the little brown man in white trunks to try to impress himself at last on this fight. Still playing it carefully and cagily and using all this ring. Determined to keep this at long range if he can. From long range is where he's won this fight, if he has won it. Less than 2 minutes left. The southpaw challenger, the former champion, the former light flyweight champion as well, still not really making any impression at all on McAuley. Again from McAuley. 1 minute left. turns him beautifully on the ropes. McAuley producing some of his best boxing in this final round. Looking supremely confident now. And Penalosa looked rather sadly towards his corner, as much as to say, I don't know how to go about it now. "15 seconds, that's all that's left. And it'll go to 3 judges for the decision. Dangerous last effort from Penalosa, but all too late. And McAuley has surely won that by a wide margin, and I think Penalosa knows it. There's no sign of jubilation from the Filipino corner. They're taking it very quietly and very sensibly. He really never got going in that fight. Quite extraordinary. He had a very brief success in the 3rd round, little burst 2 or 3 rounds later, but never anything sustained. And although McAuley's great danger was from the cuts on his face, even those in the end proved to be fairly minor. Nothing really very serious to disturb the path of McAuley on his way surely to a successful defense of the title. But we must wait for the 3 judges to come up with their decisions. Torben Hansen from Denmark, Dave Paris from England, and Pascual Ingusal from the Philippines. Meanwhile, McAuley getting ready to celebrate victory. What do you think, Terry? A big win, must be.
A big win, and I thought a very sound performance from McAuley, but I was very disappointed in the challenger. I thought I would have seen a much better fighter than I did. You know, perhaps the tough championship fights he's had have taken it out of him, or perhaps McAuley had watched films and saw that he was a little bit struggling on that back foot and kept on the move.
Quite a smart fight, really, from McAuley.
Yeah, he boxed a very smart fight.
Did the things right all the way through, didn't he, really?
He didn't do his normal thing and go and sort of face first and have a fight, did he? You know?
No. So, this looks like being one of those happy British boxing nights. And we still wait for the 3 judges' verdicts.
Ladies and gentlemen, result is a split decision.
Oh, one judge.
Judge Dave Paris from England, 120 to 109 points. Judge Pascual Ingusal from the Philippines, 113 to 119. And Judge Torben Hansen from Denmark, 119 to 113. The IBF Flyweight champion, Dave McAuley.
So 2 judges went for McAuley, but the Filipino judge made it completely the other way round and gave it by 6 points to the Filipino, whereas Dave Paris of England gave it by a huge 11-point margin to McAuley, and the Danish judge gave it by 6 points to McAuley. So 2 judges to 1. The only dissenting judge was the Filipino, who supported the Filipino. Surprise, surprise.
So Dave McAuley remains the IBF World Flyweight champion, but Terry Lawless, what do you make of that split decision?
I'd like to have that judge on my side all the time. Great.
I think they take him around with him.
Yeah.
It's a fight that went the distance. It took up a great deal of our time in a very worthwhile cause, of course, tonight. But while we've got you here, quick word on the other topic that's concerning the sport at the moment, the safety of the boxers after the injury to Rod Douglas and the concern about Jim McDonnell on Sunday. Do you think the sport has a great deal of extra work to do in that direction?
I think medically, our border control is the finest in the world. You know, I've travelled all over, and there's nobody cares more about their fighters than the British Boxing Border Control. You know, I can't defend boxing and say there are no dangers, because obviously there are. I can only go what everybody says. You know, all contact sports are dangerous. It's probably more dangerous for you and I to drive our car home tonight on the road than it is to take part in a professional boxing match. I know that the board will endeavour to do anything they possibly can to improve the medical side of boxing, which I don't really think they can do. I think it's just one of those unlucky things that there were 2 fights in 2 weeks that were very hard.
Important role, though, for the cornermen, isn't it, to really acknowledge a lost cause and really prevent their fighters taking unnecessary punishment. You've always been fairly quick in that respect, haven't you?
Well, you know, I mean, you're obviously referring to the Azuma Nelson fight, and anybody who knows me in boxing would know that, you know, he wouldn't have gone out for the 12th round with me. However, I wasn't in the corner. I wasn't even at the fight. I was watching it on TV. You can get emotionally involved and think your guy's winning. I mean, I would have hooked him out because I had him some 3 rounds behind, and as there were 2 American judges who go for aggression, then I'm sure they had him probably further in front than I did. And I know Jim very well, and I could see going back to the corner, he was fighting purely on heart. He had nothing left.
Sure. And
of course, with the closed eye, and with the guy that his best punch is probably a left hook, he wasn't really in the driving seat.
Important for a corner to acknowledge that. Thanks for that, Terry. No such problems tonight. Thanks for your contribution.